Good morning and welcome to the channel. I hope you are having a wonderful holiday season. So we're back at it, y'all, chasing the apex predator of freshwater. Of course, I'm talking about the bass, specifically largemouth bass. But how much do we really know about this fish we love to target? Well, we're going to test ourselves and find out. I've got 10 questions and facts coming at your way throughout this video that should improve our understanding of this fish that we love so much. It's a pop quiz, Yakety Mac style. Should be entertaining and it should be fun. Let's go fishing, guys. So in the spirit of learning things new, I am doing something new today as well, guys. I am going to try to throw a weightless fluke, and I'm using fluorocarbon line. Now, I've thrown a weightless fluke one time for about 10 minutes, had no clue how to work it, so I've been doing a little studying on that. And I've never spooled fluorocarbon line. I've experimented with it a few times as a leader, but I've never put up an entire reel of fluorocarbon. Everything that I have read says work a fluke on fluorocarbon if you can, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to be learning while we're all learning. Let's get right to it, guys, and let's get into question number 1. Okay, so there you are. It is the answer C, 16 years. How'd you do on that one? Certainly caught me by surprise, especially when you hear a fact that we learn in question number 10. Now, the oldest known bass lived to be 23 years old. And just for comparison, smallmouth bass lived to be 6 to 12 years old, depending on the region. So, with that being said, guys, let's get into question number 2. Yes, so this is true. The northern bass, or cold water bass, live longer than southern bass, warm water bass, specifically the Florida strain. However, the Florida strain of bass, I guess because of the warmer water and metabolism, can grow at twice the rate of a northern bass. But still interesting that the cold water bass have a longer lifespan than warm water bass. Did not know that. Question number 3. Once again, true. Now, I certainly would never have guessed that a bass in the wild would live longer than captivity. In captivity, you figure they're being cared for well, they're being fed well, they don't really have any predators to deal with. Not that bass really have predators once they reach adulthood anyway. But I never would have guessed that a bass in the wild would live longer than the bass in captivity. Interesting fact. Ready for question 4? Let's get to it. So the correct answer here is A, 16 inches. Boy, I certainly would have thought that it would have been C, based on my personal experience, that the average bass caught is 16 inches. That's pretty fascinating. I never would have guessed that at all. And, you know, it's kind of something that's interesting along those lines as well that teaches us a little bit about the age of the fish that we're catching. A bass can grow up to 18 inches in its first 3 years. So most of us, most of the time, are catching bass that are on the younger side of the age spectrum. Just kind of interesting. Makes you wonder what the older bass learn and know as time goes by to keep them from falling for our shenanigans, to keep them from getting bamboozled. Let's go on to question number 5, guys. So if you said C here, you are correct. 32.5 inches long. However, I will also accept answer B because there is conflicting information out there, 29.5. Either way, I just want to put that into perspective here for you. This catch board here is 26 inches long. All right, so imagine holding up a fish that now add either 6.5 inches or 3.5 inches to that. I just can't even wrap my head around a bass being longer than this board right here. But sure enough, those are the records as far as length on a largemouth bass. And those of us who fish from a kayak are more concerned with length than we are weight. So 32.5 or 29.5, I'll accept either answer. So now we're at the halfway point. How you guys doing so far? Well, not to fret. We still have 5 more to go. Let's see how it plays out. Ready for question number 6? Let's go. So if you said B, you would be correct, 49. There have been reports of bass caught in Alaska, but it's not been official yet. So it's only in 49 of the 50 states. Hawaii does have bass. And in fact, they have been introduced to over 75 countries in the world, and in some of those countries now they are considered invasive species because they are predators and because they have such ferocious appetites. They have destroyed some local ecosystems, including in Japan, where they have started to eradicate bass from some of their lakes, leaving them in others because bass fishing is a popular sport in Japan, but they have really decimated some of the local ecosystems. Also interesting to note that the bass is not native to areas west of the Rocky Mountains. They have been introduced to those areas. So, question there, or the answer there, sorry, is B, 49 states. Ready for number 7? Let's go. So the answer here is false. And how you test the intelligence of a fish, well, they put them in different controlled situations. And one of the things that they found about bass was that bass was one of the fish that most quickly recognized whether or not something was edible and would spit it back out. Bass also tended to not get fooled over and over by the same exact thing. Notice I said the word exact there. They believe that a bass's memory is only about 15 minutes long. However, they do become conditioned over time to not fall for the banana in the tailpipe trick. In other words, one interesting point on this, and I heard someone talk about the whopper plopper. Every whopper plopper sounds the same. And so while that used to be a very, very effective bait, it has become less so. And the thinking behind that is bass have become conditioned to recognize that that sound is not food. And so bass have actually been figured as one of the more intelligent of the freshwater fish. Let's move on to question number 8. The answer here, guys, is true. Bass actually do have some smaller inner ears that are made up of small bones that work just in a way that human ears work, and that the vibrations, and these are very different from their lateral lines. Their lateral lines will detect vibration, will detect disturbances in the water, but they can actually hear. In fact, they can hear a crawfish moving around, or as my northern friends would say, crayfish, moving around in the grass. They can actually hear that. So bass actually do have ears. Let's go to question number 9. So the answer is once again true. As they age, their eyes continue to get bigger, which allows more light in, which gives them better sight. And their eyes will continue to grow throughout their entire life. So their eyesight only gets better and better. Too bad that isn't the same with us, huh? Let's go. The final question. So how you guys doing now? We're on to question number 10. If you're not doing so well and you get held back a year, is that so bad? I mean, sure, your friends are going to make fun of you and your family will be ashamed, but at least you get to fish for another year. Let's go on, guys. The final question.
All right, guys, it's a fishing recess. Am I not the coolest teacher ever? Got this little fella here on a fluke, my first fish ever on a fluke. I'm just going to see how long he is. Would he work in a tournament this year? Come on now, close your mouth, little buddy. Oh, he's just gonna be shy of 12 inches. Oh, he's just shy. He would not measure in a tournament. It was a fun little fella. I actually saw him come up and hit it. There he goes. All right, recess is over. Back at it.
So if you said C, you are correct. Now, they will not lay all their eggs at one time. They will lay them at different times throughout the spawning season and in different places so that different males can fertilize those eggs in order to give them the best chance at survival, which, speaking of survival, is quite interesting, given that of all those eggs, only 5 to 10 will ever live to be over 10 inches long. So when we talk about life expectancy, I'm guessing that that means once a bass has reached adulthood, because those are not real good numbers when only 5 to 10 of that many thousand eggs will survive past 10 inches. Once again, though, it just goes to show how incredibly resilient these fish are, given such a high mortality rate, to be able to dominate ecosystems the way they do. All right, guys, well, I hope that was informative and fun for you. I hope you learned a little bit of something that maybe you didn't know. If you would, please subscribe to the channel. I want to try to do a lot more interactive content coming up in the next year and going forward from there. I've also got some content planned with the missus. That should be really entertaining and interesting for sure. So subscribe to the channel. I'd love to have you. And do me a favor, hit that thumbs up, that like button. Leave me a comment, guys. And if you're so inclined, share this video. And hey, look, no matter what you've got going on in your life, I hope you'll always take some time to get outside and play.